an acknowledgement of they are the original inhabitants, the original model of what stewardship looks like, and what we should all aspire to as people who have been here temporarily and get to use this space that is their lands originally. So I want to begin by acknowledging that history. That is critical to how we look at and approach what our responsibility is to a coast, and a coast that is rapidly changing because of everything all of us are always doing in this space. But with that being said, we focused last year on having conversations, obviously, about whales, because this is a big nexus of the day and of shipping and is of tremendous interest. And we're going to continue that conversation today with some familiar faces and some new faces. And additionally, we will continue with this sort of precedent we have set of giving awards to the participating ocean carriers, the shipping companies, that play a very important role actually locally in protecting air quality and protecting local cetaceans in the ocean out there off of our beautiful coast that we call home. So without further ado, I want to welcome up President of our Commissioners, Zacharias, to give a welcome to the group. Thank you.
Women can do anything in heels. That was mountain climbing in my world. Thank you so much, Giles. I hope that after today, you guys will be as passionate about the ocean as Giles is. I mean, every time I hear him speak, I think, oh my God, I just learned something new. So I look forward to today's event. But welcome, Ocean Day champions, to the second annual Oceans Day celebration. As Giles mentioned, my name is Selena Zacharias, and I have the pleasure of serving as your president for the Oxnard Harbor District Port of Hueneme. And at this time, I'd like to introduce a couple elected officials, and I think some of them did have to leave early to another event, but from the office of Congresswoman Julia Brownlee, a big supporter of the port is Anthony Avila. And I know Amisha from the office of Congressman Salud Carbajal did have to leave, Amisha DeYoung. With the office of Senator Monique Limon, I believe Jordy Scully is still here? Is she here? She might have left already. And then Director of Communications from the Office of Assemblyman Steve Ben, another great supporter and partner of the port, Michelle Sevilla. Representing our County Supervisor for the 5th District, V&A Lopez, is Tracy Gallagher. Thank you, Tracy. And Mayor Pro Tem from the City of Port Hueneme, I'm not sure if she's still here, is Martha McQueen-Lejeune. She was here with us earlier, as well as I know for a fact Laura Hernandez, City Council member for the City of Port Hueneme, did have to head on out to another meeting, and so did City Manager James Vega. But I think it's important we share these names with you all because, once again, it's continue to hear the names of the partners that have stepped up to the plate to help us move this agenda forward. Next is Karen Grinnan from the Public Information Officer for the Ventura County Air Pollution Control District. There she is. Martin Erickson, another great partner of the port, Executive Director of VCTC. And Jeremy Goldberg with the Executive Director of the Central Coast Labor Council. And then also Anthony Mireles, Business Manager and Secretary Treasurer of Liuna Labor's Local 585. And then Joshua Medrano, which I know he also had to leave, was Executive Director, Executive Secretary Treasurer of the Tri-Counties Building and Construction Trades. But once again, that's just a testament to the partnership and all of you that are here with us today. Thank you for your participation. As we gather here today, I would like to remind us all of how this day came to be and how it started in 1992 with an idea. So something I learned, because we're going back and making notes on this, was, is it World Oceans Day? Or is it World Ocean Day? There's one ocean, right? I know. I said, no, it's this. No, let's Google it. And Siri, unfortunately, had two different answers, but we went with the concept of World Ocean Day was first proposed in 1992 at the United Nations Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro. There was a growing awareness among nations of the need to celebrate our world's shared ocean and our personal connection to the sea. And once again, it's that world's shared ocean concept. This awareness and consciousness among nations was realized in 2008 when a resolution at the UN General Assembly formally recognized June 8th as World Ocean Day. Let us all here in Ventura County continue the tradition of raising awareness about the crucial role the ocean plays in our lives and the important ways we can protect it. And protect it not for you and I, but for our future, for any kids that we might have, great-grandkids, etc. We have a very exciting program today ahead of us, and look forward to hearing from our subject matter experts and wonderful speakers. But I want to make sure you all walk away with, you are all our partners in this journey. And I want that commitment from you, because we cannot do it alone, regardless of how much money we bring to the table from all these grant opportunities. You are our partner, and Giles is our fearless leader with regards to this initiative. And then up next is our amazing CEO, Kristen Dekas. Yep.
Okay. Well, did everybody like the food? Yes. All right, DJ's Catering, thank you. Can you hear me okay? Yes. In the mix, thank you. And ABC, the audiovisual company, thank you. And staff, Giles, congratulations for your leadership in bringing us this amazing day in terms of being the mastermind behind our blueprint to decarbonization. All of our customers, could you please stand up? Len, you cannot hide. Len Mazzella, come on, all of you stand up. Come on, Mario, I see you in the back. Get up, stand up. It's these guys that are the economic engines of the Port of Hueneme. They're out there creating all the jobs that come with port business, and they make cargo move. So thank you very much for participating here today and being stewards of our environment. And then again, I want to give a shout out to Adam Vega for a wonderful press event earlier today, and all the hard work of our team members for making today a very special day to celebrate trade, celebrate our environment, and of course our oceans. So with that, I have the privilege of giving a quick update on what's happening at the Port of Hueneme. I have a few slides here to provide some statistics. And I didn't call out our president of the board because I get this slide to be able to do that. So we have wonderful leadership here. It really does start at the top. In November of 2021, they voted a resolution to decarbonization that set us on our journey, and it's their wisdom, their leadership, and their support of staff, again, that makes these exciting projects move forward. So I'd like to give our president, the first Latino to be president, a wonderful round of applause for her leadership. So as a quick reminder to most folks, do remember this: we do or do not collect taxes from the taxpayer. We do not. All of the revenues that come in through the port come in through our customers. And then we are, once that money does come into the port, though, we are actually a public agency. We're a special district of the state of California, so we are owned by you, the taxpayer, and that makes our mission very different. We don't exist to make a lot of profit to become a rich port. We exist to enrich our community and create economic and social upward mobility by having access to the global stage for trade. So that is our mission, that is our DNA, and it's a little bit different than a profit center in other types of entrepreneurial businesses. So fun facts, we move a lot of bananas through the port. 5 billion bananas come through the port on an annual basis. In a good month, we actually might move more blueberries than bananas. I know a lot of people probably don't realize that. So if you like bananas and blueberries, they're coming through your port, and they serve 15 different states bananas, and some even go up into Canada. We also move about 400,000 cars on an annual basis. That's going to be a historic record for us this fiscal year. It's a lot of vehicles, and 23% of those cars coming through our port are electric. So we really are on the forefront of the supply chain, seeing this transition into a new economy for the automotive sector. Here are wow facts. When you're in the backyard of LA and Long Beach, some people don't realize how big a footprint we have in global trade. We are the actual top 10% of the nation's seaports for the cargoes and commodities that we handle in the automotive sector and the refrigerated cold cargo. We're the #1 West Coast banana port. We're the #1 banana port in the West Coast, and we're fighting with Wilmington and Philadelphia on the East Coast for the top 3, so kind of the round robin there. We are #5 for market share in refrigerated cargo, #16th largest container port in the country, and the 6th largest automotive port in our nation. By value, our #1 trade partner is South Korea. That has a lot to do with the automotive sector, but Germany and Japan are not far behind. And then in terms of volume, think about that. We've moved so much fruit through this port that it actually weighs more than our cars. So right now, Guatemala is taking the prize as the #1 port, our trading partner by volume. Over the last decade, our cargo has grown 80%, so that's an impressive statistic, and that's translating to a lot of job creation and economic output. But when we do well, we make more money, and then we're able to invest more in the environment and invest more in our community. This is one of my favorite slides. It's kind of my competitive juices, but look at where we sit in terms of refrigerated cargo compared to my big brothers, as I call them, down in LA and Long Beach. We're one slot behind Los Angeles for refrigerated cargo, and we actually move more than the Port of Long Beach. So that just tells you what a player we are in this space. In terms of automotive cargo, we are having an amazing year. We're going to be up 4% over last year. We're 10% up over our highest year in 2019. So automotive sector is really strong right now, and we're super proud of the business that we have with our automotive customers. We're in the midst of updating our strategic plan. We're finally going to put a bow on this, either at our June or July meeting. It's been 5 years of open, transparent processes. COVID got a little bit in the way, but we do have this done. Our strategic pillars include economic vitality, environment, infrastructure, community, and innovation. In terms of economic vitality, the port is an economic engine for our community, for our county. We well outperform the GDP from the county. So you can see how important trade and transportation are. We are up 12%, growing at a pace 4% over that of our county. So again, just a really massive economic engine here in Port Hueneme and the county. And this slide speaks volumes. You can see how much, when we perform well, what that means in terms of economics and social upward mobility. The jobs with the port, affiliated with the port, are good, family-sustaining, wage-paying positions. So our job is up 140% with that 80% growth. Tax revenues into our community are up 240%, and overall economic output is up 150%. So pretty impressive statistics and a major contributor to the local economy. And this is one of my favorite slides too, because not only we are an employer for the county, but when you look at the adjacent communities and the most disadvantaged communities in our county, 63% of the people that have direct jobs with the Port of Hueneme or our wonderful customers live in Port Hueneme or they live in Oxford. So we really are genuinely creating economic upward mobility for the people that live near the port. Another fun slide. We talked today about our footprint to decarbonization at the press event, but we've been the recipient, and this is where you, the taxpayer, does come in. Our grants are funded through federal, state, and local grants. So we have about $106 million in funding. Thank you to the VCTC and Martin Erickson's leadership for $11.4 million to your local seaport. Come on, give them a hand. Thank you, Martin. Appreciate that. That's going to help us electrify our docks. We got $5 million in earmarks from Assemblymember Bennett and Senator Lamone. We have $5 million in VW grants. And so we got some money from our wonderful congresswomen in EPA grants, bringing all this funding to the table. Total tallies up to $106 million to not only grow our port, modernize our port, but do it with a nod towards the environment so that we can make our port zero emission by the end of 2030. So very exciting to have all this funding in play to support our mission. This is a reminder of all the good work that we've done historically. We have invested close to $70 million in the past in infrastructure to clean our operations, and now we're moving forward with that $106 million. And of course, I think we've already spilled the beans here, but that's the date. All right, let's go. Come on. We're pretty excited about that. And, you know, and Giles will probably remind you throughout the course of the day, but we didn't want to put a date out there where we couldn't get this done. It did take some study. You have to really assess. You have to know what's happening with your utility company. Can they get us enough power so that we can green our operations? Where is the energy going to come from? How can we get this all done? And it takes an effort and initiative to do that. And so we're super proud that we got the right team in place to really build a program that can get us there by 2030. just a snapshot of how we've addressed and taken approach over the last 10 years towards our environmental management, if you will. And so back in 2012, our board, under the leadership of our wonderful commissioners, adopted a framework, an environmental management framework, and it had all these core areas that you see in yellow, from sustainability, community relations, soil, marine, water quality, climate, energy, and air quality. Since that time, we've transformed that environmental framework over into a program that we call Green Marine, where a third-party auditor comes in and it looks at our performance in these categories, and it has key performance indicators that grade us in our performance in these sectors. And they kind of align with our former environmental framework, from waste to zero waste programs, community impacts, again, the relations, the water, the air, spill prevention, climate, and all of that good stuff. And what we recently did was receive a report card from Green Marine. They grade us every year, and you have to perform year over year to get high gradings. We rank at the top in everything but noise pollution. So we're super proud of that. We get top 5. So we're going to keep at it, and we're going to keep performing year over year so we get those record numbers in terms of our performance in environmental stewardship. The other thing that we did, and if you want to take a picture of the QR code here, is we just launched a website at portcaresaboutair.org. We have put up EPA reference grade monitors at the local elementary school, Haycox Elementary School, and we collect that data every second, every day, and we're putting it on this website, and we're interpreting it for you so you can understand what's happening with your local air quality. Clearly, this is about all of our air. It's about all the contributors to emissions. It's what's happening in Ventura County air. But we want you to know what's going on, so you have data and you have information to help you understand what's happening with air quality. And we're taking a leadership role in that, working with the local Ventura Air Quality Control District, who has also stepped up in supporting future grants for air quality and working with local communities like CSU, CI, and CFROG that are coming in and helping us and giving a hand in measuring air quality. This is the plan. It's kind of a short version of it. Giles can tell you more about it, but this is how we're going to phase in over time. This is the timeline to get us to zero emissions by 2030, and so we'll do a deeper dive in that later, but that's how we're going to do it. We'll take all hands on deck. It was mentioned that recently we were on a trade mission, and we did. We went to South Korea, and we also went to Japan, and as part of these initiatives, we met with our trading partners from around the world. We went to Pyeongtaek, WW is our customer there, and we signed a Green Corridors Agreement with them, or MOU with them. We met with our South Korea customer in Glovis, and we signed a proclamation with them all around green corridors, and then we met with Japan and went to Yokohama and signed a Green Corridor MOU with them as well. So we're building these synergies around the world to move towards a future of environmental stewardship and green technologies. And then finally, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about a little bit of the great work that we're doing in the community through the partnerships that we have with all of you. We do about 300 sponsorships a year to support the fabric of our community, the local nonprofits that are doing really good things for a number of different areas of contribution, whether it's for youth-based programs, senior programs, supporting our vets. We really want to support our community, our players here locally. That 300 sponsorships translates into $300,000 in support. If any of you are in education, we do field trips for students in elementary all the way through high school. They can come in, see what's happening at the port. We do about 2,000 tours a year. Anyone's welcome to come in. When the kids come in, they drag their feet a little bit, and then they look like those students on the bus with their beanies, and they've seen cranes and ships and green bananas and cars and all kinds of cool stuff. So we open our doors, and we also do a global trade logistics class where we've high school students come in from 11th and 12th graders, and they learn all about the port and career tracks. We have our customers will often come in and coach them on ways to become or build maritime careers, whether it's with our customs officials, whether it's with our customs finance department. Austin, our CFO here, is a great educator for these students. And then excelling students get paid internships with the port. So this is some of the examples of what we do to try and be part of the fabric of our community. And if you haven't been, please come to our Banana Fest. I think it's going to be our 11th annual, the last weekend in September. And you get the opportunity to come out to the port and see it in a unique way, see some great music, but really learn about a diverse working waterfront. We do waterside tours, landside tours, and good stuff like that, all for free. So come out and join us. Another way to help celebrate our partnerships and what we're all trying to do to create a better world for everybody. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our environmental master to run the rest of the show. Thank you, Giles.
All right. Can you guys hear me on this? Sean, are you going out for a little bit? Okay. Well, I really appreciate those words, the background information regarding the port, our history, what we're up to, what we're doing, how we do it. But what I want to bring us back to before we welcome our panelists up on stage to talk at length and in detail about whales and this incredible Santa Barbara Channel that we're adjacent to right here is just remind everybody with just a little information around the nature of global trade and why ships and ports matter when you have conversations about whales, and why it is that global trade matters. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer, but until the pandemic occurred, the vast majority of people, when you ask them, where does your food come from? Where does your stuff that you purchase come from? How does it get here? Basically, what pathways does it go? And pandemic and the whole supply chain chaos lifted this curtain on a very complicated world of global shipping. And it pointed to the reality that all of us are part, cogs in a much larger world of globalization, a world that has been globalized in the manufacturing of things, the distribution of things, and the consumption of stuff. I touched on it earlier in my comments outside, but it is foundational to understanding how the world economy operates. And right now, this entire ecosystem, this entire network of linked moving parts is being challenged on a lot of fronts. Obviously, climate change is the sort of overall most urgent issue. But we've also layered underneath that are some major global strategic challenges, the Red Sea with Yemen, obviously the war in Ukraine. These are lending uncertainty into a much larger commercial world that is global shipping. And global shipping right now is estimated to account for about 3% of global GHG. That number is higher depending on exactly where you draw the bookends on your analysis, but it's a lot, and it is forecasted to increase. And the reason for that is because people are still consuming a lot of stuff. And that consumption, of course, is driving all of this. Now, what are the ships doing about that? Well, I want to touch on this very briefly because I know I want to get the panelists up here and start talking about whales, but it matters to whales because more consumption equals more ships on the water. More ships on the water equals more risk to those who make their living in the ocean, whales, right? Whales choose to live in places where they can breed, be protected from predators, find food, and enjoy the ocean. And we, humans, like to live in a lot of, or adjacent to a lot of those same places. And because we live there, we have all these ships coming to those places to bring us the stuff we want, whether it's avocados 12 months of the year, or it's new sneakers, or whatever it is. So whales right now are being threatened by our own appetites for things. And we are doing something about that with some of the awards we will be giving out later. But it's really about innovation, and it's about new forms of partnerships, it's about awareness, and it's about addressing what we can change to help better protect whales. So Blue Whales, Blue Skies, we'll talk about in a little bit, this really pioneering program. But one last piece I'm going to touch on, and then we'll get our panelists up here, is around the nexus of global shipping and its decarbonization push. We've talked about a port, we talked about cranes and tractors and stuff. Well, what about the ships themselves, right? Demand for the ships themselves is forecasted to increase. Did you know that most global ships historically have operated on some of the dirtiest fuels available in the world? Why is that? Because they need huge volumes of fuel. Because ships are the single most efficient way to move goods around the world. Let that sink in for a moment. They are using some of the dirtiest fuels, but despite that, they are still one of the most efficient ways to move things globally. So if we make strides to improve the quality of those fuels, we will see massive benefits globally in GHG reductions. So how do the shippers do that? Well, they're looking at ships like you can see kind of in the back there, or the ships you might have seen on a port tour, and they're saying, well, how can we re-engineer a ship to still move through the ocean, but make less pollution when we do it? And there's a lot of conversation happening in that space. You know, we can change the front of the ship, we can change the back of the ship with the propeller. A lot of that stuff is happening. But the most important piece of that conversation is fuel. Even if you made the most efficient, hydrodynamic, amazing, beautiful, hydro whatever vessel, that would still only achieve an efficiency improvement of about 10 to 15%. Fuel is 70% of the emissions, the impact associated with that ship voyage. So what that translates into is we need new fuels. And just like we were talking about outside, there is no silver bullet for any of these yet. Ships historically have run on everything from wind to nuclear power. There's a big variety of options out there. Well, we have to look to the ocean carriers who are with us today as being in a position to have to invest hundreds of millions of dollars in figuring this out. And so CEO Dekas pointed to their work talking about green shipping corridors. This is the new buzzword in shipping, green shipping corridors, connecting locations with new fuels. And the reason this matters is because those fuels are what will empower that next generation of ships to move all the stuff that we all want on our doorstep when we press buy on Amazon and we're like, come on, get here, 12 hours, let's go. Right? That we all expect and are totally adjusted and used to. Well, when we press buy, this whole system begins rapidly moving to satisfy our craving for that stuff. And it drives those ships. It drives that pollution. It drives hitting and killing whales because of what we choose to do. So by making changes in how those ships operate, what powers those ships, it makes a difference to the global climate. And one last point, and then I'm going to get everybody up here. When you make a ship more energy efficient, when it's going through the water more effectively, what you also do, and we cannot lose sight of this because this is off of most people's radar, is we make the ship quieter. We make it quieter. And the reason that matters is because, well, here's a question. Is air or water more dense? Water, obviously. So water molecules are much more tightly packed than air molecules. Air molecules are like floating around being like, hey, what's up? Water molecules are like rolling around together, like all touching all the time. So what that translates into, when you make a noise in the ocean versus making a noise in the air, that energy, the sound wave, literally the sound waves, which are energy, propagate much, much further and much more efficiently in water. So that means if you make a small noise, you can hear it really far away. Well, is the ocean loud or is the ocean quiet these days? I hate to break it to you, but the ocean is unbelievably loud. Unbelievably loud. And it's not just shipping, it's everything we do in the ocean. It's energy extraction, it's offshore oil, it's fishing, it's commercial ships, it's all of that. Now, that would be okay if animals didn't use sound to communicate, find their food, avoid predators, all the things that they do. But unfortunately, not unfortunately, that's just how they have evolved. Whales are some of the most advanced acoustical animals in the entire world. Sonar, long-distance communication, singing, right? Whales sing. I mean, that's mind-boggling. they have evolved to use sound in so many ways that we are just beginning to wrap our heads around. We are also making their worlds much more noisy and much more difficult for them to be able to communicate. So lastly, in that green marine thing that we just talked about, I was at a conference in Halifax, Nova Scotia, just a couple days ago, all of last week talking about port and ship decarbonization. And one of the big conversations with a whole slew of Canadian ports was around underwater noise. And how do we reduce the signature of noise coming from our vessels and our ports? And I'm happy to say that the board have blessed me with the authority to do more work in that space, specifically for Hueneme, because we want to address that as well. But it's a really, really important component of ships and ports and whales that a lot of folks don't talk a whole lot about. So with that, I want to invite all of our panelists on up, and we will get rolling, because I know we're a little bit behind schedule. So I would like to welcome to the stage, we have, come on up, come on, don't be scared. We have, first up, Sean Hastings from NOAA. He is a ocean advocate, a longtime participant, leader, thinker of thoughts in this space, and very experienced and knowledgeable about whales in our local area, as well as federal policy, shipping policy, all of that goes with it. So thank you, come on up. And then we've got Holly Lohi. She is another whale expert, like the best, who has been instrumental in working with government, working with public, working with environmental groups to bring awareness around the breadth of numbers of whales we have out here, the species, the uniqueness of what we have right off our coast here. Next up is Holly Galbraith from Ventura County Air Pollution Control District. So it is a mouthful, VCAPCD. She is an air quality specialist there who brings a very important component to this, because one of the things we don't talk enough about is regulation and air quality stuff. We talked about it last year a little bit, but we'll get into that through Holly's work as well. And then lastly, we have Rachel Rhodes, who comes to us from the Benioff Ocean Institute, which is sort of like a think tank of how we can deploy thought and technology and answers to better manage our interactions with the ocean. So all of our panelists here are going to talk to us about what they are doing, what their work is, and what that connection is, and then we will get to questions from all of you all, but that was a lot of talking, so I apologize. Let's roll right into it. First off, can everybody introduce themselves, if you so want, or just give us kind of a quick soundbite of what you're gonna talk about? You've got a microphone next to you, everybody, please. We'll just go in order.
Great, thanks, Giles. I think you covered everything. Thank you. No, he does a wonderful, he's a great listener and he's a great communicator. Good afternoon, Sean Hastings. I'm with NOAA's Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary. I am the Policy Information and Management Officer. What that means is I work on ocean policies in the Santa Barbara Channel region. I hope you all have had the opportunity to visit the Channel Island National Marine Sanctuary and get into the Santa Barbara Channel. If you have, you realize why it is federally designated as a marine protected area. It's recognized internationally on many levels, and the favorite part of my work is working with whales, working with my partners here on the Blue Whales and Blue Skies program, which we're going to celebrate today with many of the shipping lines who are here.
Great, thank you. It's really nice to be here this afternoon. My name is Holly Lohi, and I am the co-director of the new designation of the Santa Barbara Channel as a whale heritage area. So we are just one of 11 whale heritage areas around the world, and we are recognized because of responsible tourism. So I work on the Island Packer boats, and everybody should go whale watching in the next couple days. We have over 20 blue whales in the shipping lanes of the Santa Barbara Channel right now, so right off the east end of Santa Cruz Island. So I'll be on the Island Packer boat to Santa Rosa Island tomorrow if anybody wants to go. But the other co-director is Hiroko Benko, and she's the owner of the Condor Express up in Santa Barbara. And thanks to Sean and so many wonderful partners, over 30 plus partners, Rachel with UCSB, we have been able to get this designation that gives us this international recognition for the collaboration in education and, most importantly, conservation. So I'm really honored to be here today and really to celebrate the shipping companies that are really caring for the whales and doing the voluntary slowdown. So thank you.
Hello, I'm the other Holly. Sorry, there's two Hollies today. I'm with the Ventura County Air Pollution Control District. I work in the Planning, Rules, and Incentives program, or division. My manager, Tyler, he's been part of the program since its inception, but unfortunately he couldn't make it today, so I'm sort of filling in for him. But yeah, like I said, we've been part of the program it's been going 10 years now, so that's really great. And it's a really pivotal program for Ventura County, especially because, like Giles mentioned, we've got our AB 617 communities, our disadvantaged communities in the county. And so anything we can do to reduce air pollutants in those communities is really, really important. And this program has been such a huge part of that. So yeah, really glad to be here.
Hi, my name is Rachel Rhodes. I work at the Benioff Ocean Science Laboratory. We're a marine science lab based at UCSB. And we work on a lot of different projects that are trying to solve ocean problems using both science and technology. And one of our flagship projects that I lead is our Whale Safe project that is aiming to reduce the risk of ship strikes through near real-time whale detection as well as vessel analytics with the Protecting Blue Whales, Blue Skies program, which I'll talk a little bit about.
Excellent. Well, thank you, everybody. I think we'll just jump right into presentations, if that's okay. I know we're a little crunched on time, but we will have presentations by each of them individually. We'll go through those. And then I think we'll probably have a little bit of time for Q&A and questions as we jump into this. So I don't recollect who is first. So, first Holly is up.
Excellent. Were we going to do a short little film, or?
You can drive.
Okay.
I think your video is embedded in the middle of the slides.
Okay, excellent. All right. Well, good. I really appreciate the opportunity for some visuals because it's really all about the whales. That is why we are here. So a beautiful spy-hopping humpback whale with Santa Cruz Island and Santa Rosa Island in the background. So once again, as a whale heritage area, we just kind of overlap already some wonderful federal recognition of our unique islands and our Santa Barbara Channel. So the Channel Islands National Park, and then the darker area, of course, is what Sean's going to be talking about with the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary. So the Whale Heritage Area just kind of links us all to our coastal communities, our ports that are instrumental in really spearheading these important conservation initiatives to not only improve air quality, reduce noise pollution, but of course protect our whales. So we are once again one of 11 whale heritage areas around the world. All these destinations have had to go through this application process through the World Cetacean Alliance. So this is a UK-based nonprofit. And we are also overlap with the World Animal Protection. And then on the bottom left are just the sites that are in the process of becoming a whale heritage area. So just like the importance of a network of marine protected areas, our goal, of course, is to have this network of whale heritage areas all up and down the coast. We know most of our whales that visit us visit multiple countries throughout the year. So it's all about a collaborative effort at the local, state, national, and international level. So here we are on the map. So really a big congratulations to all of us that work in all different industries and organizations, nonprofits, federal agencies here in the Santa Barbara Channel. So I do want to just share a little film that we had to produce for the application, and I think this really just drives home how fortunate we are to live where we live.
Southern California is known for its incredible marine diversity and whale watching experiences. Nowhere is that more apparent than the surrounding waters of the Channel Islands National Park and the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary. The Santa Barbara Channel has been my home for over 30 years as I've worked as a naturalist and marine biologist since the early 90s. We're really lucky to have this incredible body of water just offshore the coast of Ventura and Santa Barbara. Spanning over 80 miles long and 25 miles wide on average, the Santa Barbara Channel combines unique underwater ridges and canyons with large current systems to create the perfect environment for the upwelling of nutrients. Plankton thrive in these conditions, which are the main food source for anchovies and sardines. The visiting whales and resident dolphins will soon follow where the fish go. The channel is home to resident pods of common and bottlenose dolphins that can be seen every month of the year. The bottlenose are known for their aerial acrobatics, while the common dolphins could group up in pods of tens of thousands strong. There's nothing quite like the sight of a super pod of dolphins gliding across the vastness of the channel. We also have one of the higher diversities of large whales, so it is such an incredible place to jump on one of the local whale watching boats to go find the spout of the largest animal in the world, the blue whale. We also have humpback whales, and there are definitely more humpback whales today than when I started working on the whale watching boats in the early 90s. Humpback whales are definitely what we're known for here in the Santa Barbara Channel. This area is considered the largest feeding ground for humpbacks in Southern California. And on some days, we can see upwards of 30 to 40 humpback whales feeding in a single location. Among the many whales that call the channel home, one of our favorites is a whale known as Scarlet. Scarlet was named for the deep and drastic set of propeller wounds embedded in her back.
I've been a captain in the Santa Barbara Channel for over 25 years. The more time I spend out in the channel, the more variety, the more beauty, the more amazing things that I see. I first saw Scarlet the whale probably over 15 years ago, and she's been an amazing friend ever since. I think Scarlet is definitely a story of hope, and she shows that humans and whales can interact together. She came into contact with a boat's propeller at one time, but she has not changed her behavior. She's obviously gotten past it. She's very friendly with boats, and she's a wonderful story of hope because we see her year after year in the Santa Barbara Channel, and she's by far one of the friendliest whales we have.
Scarlet, like many other whales and dolphins of the channel, evokes a sense of wonder and awe in those fortunate enough to observe them in the wild. Whales have an incredible ability to bring out the best. Barbara Channel's marine habitats provide invaluable contributions to the health, economy, recreation, resilience, and cultural values of the people living along the coast of Santa Barbara and Ventura counties. This includes the native Chumash people, whose maritime culture has been intertwined with the whales and dolphins for thousands of years. The Santa Barbara Channel acts as a living laboratory where research has been conducted for decades on whale health, abundance, and modern threats. Protecting blue whales and blue skies is a collaborative voluntary vessel speed reduction program along the California coast that encourages shipping companies to incorporate sustainable practices while traversing critical whale habitat in the Santa Barbara Channel and across their global supply chain. Thanks to this partnership of government agencies, research institutions, and NGOs, we are seeing safer whales, cleaner air, and a quieter ocean. Local education and community engagement programs aim to raise awareness about the importance of whale conservation. Through responsible ecotourism and educational programs, visitors are invited to experience the wonder and beauty of this special place. By appreciating and protecting these magnificent whales, we not only enhance their lives, but also cultivate our own sense of empathy, curiosity, and responsibility towards the protection of the planet we share.
I'm Jean-Michel Cousteau, and I'm very excited to talk about the Santa Barbara Channel Whale Heritage Area, which is an absolutely treasure to protect whales, dolphins, and many other species, and to communicate that to not only the visitors but also to the rest of the planet, the importance of protecting what we all depend upon. And thank you, and please look at it and do everything you can to protect it.
So once again, that is just a film we produced. We'll be celebrating our 1-year anniversary as the Santa Barbara Channel World Heritage Area this fall. So I encourage you just to follow us either on social media. Please check out our website. And we appreciate the collaborative efforts of everybody here. And thank you very much to the Port Hueneme for allowing me to be a part of your special afternoon. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Very quickly, Holly, can you share like a story of an encounter with a whale that stands out in your mind as something that maybe helped guide you on this path of going into whale conservation? Just tell us something brief about an individual interaction, maybe.
I appreciate that. Well, we all were introduced to Scarlet, so we do get to see Scarlet every year. She's a humpback whale, very healthy female. She has shown up twice with a calf. And I met her for the first time last June 29th. So we haven't seen her yet this summer, so we're ready to welcome Scarlet back into the Santa Barbara Channel. But really, every day we have some pretty exciting encounters. We don't necessarily see whales every day, but right now we're seeing lots of whales. Back in March, I was on a whale watching trip with island packers, and we were 45 minutes late because we were being mugged by 2 humpback whales. And because of Whale Safe, we get to upload all of our sightings into their database that Rachel's going to be telling us about. And we also get to identify individual whales thanks to Happy Whale and using technology, using algorithms where we get instant ID of individual whales. And just like all of you have your favorite restaurant destination on a special night, we have whales that look at the Santa Barbara Channel as their special place to come feed. And so we do get to know many of the humpback whales that come year after year right here to feed right off our coast.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. And I'd love to, as we go through the conversation, hear a little bit about blue whales as well, because they are, I've only ever seen one once in my life, and it was something I'll never forget. It was like watching a train, you know, pass at a station. It just kept going and kept going and kept going. It was emotional seeing it. They're an incredible species. I mean, this is the largest animal that has ever existed, like bigger than dinosaurs. I mean, it just blows the mind away when you think about some of these. So can you tell us anything just quickly about blues, and then we'll
absolutely. So a lot of great conservation research with blue whales. They are still considered critically endangered, maybe still only numbering 10 to 20% of their original number just 50 years ago when we were still commercially harvesting whales up until the mid-'80s. So we're really looking at this incredible conservation success of bringing back the great whales from the brink of extinction in just my lifetime. So it's what gives us that sense of motivation to continue to protect the ocean for them. The blue whales, this time of year, it's all about where the krill is. And sometimes the krill's at the surface, like off of San Diego, they're seeing a lot of blue whales, and they have these huge patches of krill. Some years, like maybe the last 2 years, from some of the research that the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary does with their aerial surveys, the blue whales seem to be really past the islands, way far off on the continental shelf. That's where the krill was. But right now, we are seeing on the depth finders right off the east end of Santa Cruz Island. So if you're familiar with Santa Cruz Island in front of Scorpion and Prisoners Harbor, there's this thick layer of over 100 feet thick of krill between 300 to 500 feet deep. So these whales are here feeding, and we're probably seeing the same blue whales every day. So over Memorial Day weekend, we had them every day, and then they kind of disappeared a little bit up to the west, so the Santa Barbara boats were seeing them, and then they've just moved back a few days ago. So between the Island Packer boats, Condor Express, over 12 blue whales. And as you said, for size, to give it a perspective, the tongue alone of a blue whale is the size of the largest land animal, the African elephant. So these are 80-foot animals weighing over 100 tons, feeding on krill that you could probably put hundreds of krill in your hand.
Yeah,
so
what are krill? Can you tell the audience?
Yeah, so krill's a small crustacean, a shrimp-like animal, kind of pinkish in color, and they are really the driving force of the productivity right now. So it's all about the krill.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, and I hope everybody can maybe take advantage of that. If you don't have weekend plans, maybe look at going whale watching. But let's grab the clicker and hand it to myself, or we can go. Let's see. I think Sean is up next.
There are your blue whales right there. Why are we in this room right now?
There you are. You can drive.
We're here to celebrate the partnerships all around the room and celebrate the shipping lines that are here that are slowing down around these magnificent animals. This is one of my favorite images. I like to think I took it from our aerial monitoring, but I think our aerial crew just gives me credit for it. It never gets old staring at this image in the Santa Barbara Channel. I'm just going to spend a minute to talk about Channel Island National Marine Sanctuary and sanctuaries all around the country. We are these federally protected areas, and the kind of initiative you see with the Protecting Blue Whales and Blue Skies program, the partnership with Holly and the Santa Barbara Channel Whale Heritage Area, this is what sanctuaries do. We're catalysts for ocean conservation. We bring a federal perspective, but we work locally. And the Protecting Blue Whales and Blue Skies program is an illustration of that. We have plenty of time later during the awards ceremony to talk more about that program. Is it that arrow? Thank you. Illustrated in these two chartlets are the National Marine Sanctuaries off California. So on your right is the Channel Islands, as Holly showed in her earlier slide. We surround the northern Channel Islands, and we have included a vessel speed reduction zone in gray. This is where we're asking ships to slow down to 10 knots between May and December when these great whales are here feeding. And on your left are the three Central Coast sanctuaries, the Monterey Bay, Greater Farallon, and Cordell Bank National Marine Sanctuaries. And the vessel speed reduction zone includes the entirety of those three sanctuaries. I think this illustrates the point I made that sanctuaries are catalysts for conservation. We're actually guided by the National Marine Sanctuaries Act to create incentive-based approaches to conservation. And this is just one of the many things I work on, but it's my favorite, absolutely my favorite, when I'm not flying and counting whales. So maybe enough about sanctuaries. I know we're trying to catch up a little bit, and we can talk more about whales.
Can you very quickly, without falling off the stage, point to where we are right now on the right-hand map?
Yes, so we are, this is like a little challenge. Here's Santa Barbara, and so you just come down the coast, and I'd say we're right about there today. So just 10 miles off the coast here, you get into these magnificent animals that Holly on Island Packers will share with you, and the National Marine Sanctuary. If you haven't been to your National Marine Sanctuary, you've got to go. It's not the fact that it's a sanctuary, it's what's in the sanctuary that really should draw you there. So happy to talk about sanctuaries more later, but this is all about whales today. So why don't we move forth?
All right.
Okay, thanks, Sean.
Yeah, Rachel, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk a bit about our program, which was really set up to help fill some of the technology gaps and be complementary to this vessel speed reduction program. So those charts that you just saw are asking all large vessels to slow down to 10 knots or less during the peak months that we have whales visiting these waters. So that's from May through December. So to help fill in some more information around these vessel speed reduction zones and when whales are in effect, we put out a request for near real-time whale detection technology. And so we launched our first system down here in Southern California in 2020, and then a second system up in the Bay Area. And what this is combining is 3 different types of technology. The first is an acoustic system. It's a buoy that has an underwater microphone attached that's listening and classifying whale calls that we're hearing in near real time. And then the second piece is satellite data that's taking oceanographic data, and we're actually able to model where that krill is so that we can predict whether blue whales are likely to be in the shipping lanes. The third piece is sightings data, which Holly mentioned. We have wonderful partnerships with Island Packers, Condor Express, all the folks that are out on the water on a regular basis. And they're logging all the whale sightings that they're seeing on a cell phone app, and that's coming into our system as well. So we are combining all 3 of those into what we call the whale presence rating, which was designed to be super easy to digest for folks that are out on the water. It's letting you know whether whale presence is low, medium, high, or very high on any given day. And it's meant to be just an extra reminder that there are a lot of whales out there. So ships are asked to slow down regardless of our rating from May through December, but this is really just an extra reminder. You can think of it almost like a school zone sign when you're driving through a neighborhood with a school. It's really an extra reminder that there's a lot of whales out there. In addition to the whale presence data, we also are tracking vessel speeds throughout the vessel speed reduction zones while they're in effect. So we are giving grades similar to what you are used to in middle school and high school. We are assessing how well ships are slowing down in these recommended areas. So if you go on our website and you click on the Explore Whale Safe tool in orange, you will see a list of different vessel operators, and you can look at it by the different regions, or you can look at an aggregated score. And if you click on the particular company, it'll bring up this report card that has more detailed information about how your fleet might be performing. So this is going to give you a grade based on how much of your total nautical miles in those zones are traveled at the recommended speed knots while they're in effect. It also just gives a bit more detailed information on a per vessel basis. So this is the type of information we've been partnering with the Blue Whales Blue Skies program to provide more detailed reporting on a monthly basis. So we recognize, there's a lot to keep track of for a lot of you folks that are out on the water or working in this industry, and this is just meant to be a tool to help recognize in real time how people are doing and how you're performing so that you can improve your cooperation as the season goes on. The last thing I'll just touch on is we recognize that we're one small slice of the ocean, and this is a global problem. Whales are around the globe, and this is one of the top threats to large whales. So we've just expanded this vessel analytic piece to look at all slow speed zones in North America. So this is going to include the ones we have here on the West Coast, as well as zones that are set up on the East Coast for the endangered North Atlantic right whale. So for those of you working at companies that visit many other ports, we encourage you to also check out our additional new platform that we just launched. So I know we'll have time for questions, but if you do have any questions about this, do come find me on a break as well. Happy to talk.
Well, thank you, Rachel. I really, I cannot emphasize enough that last slide. I don't even know if you can go back for a second. This is a global issue, right? Ships literally traverse the world going everywhere, bringing goods everywhere, but there are also whales everywhere. So we're not unique in the fact that we need to deconflict the ocean between whales and ships. We're just maybe a little further ahead of it in the way that we're putting steps in place to do this, but there's very critical conversations around northern right whale is a great example, a critically endangered whale that throughout you can see that clump of areas in the upper part of that globe where it starts to fade out. That is the entrance into the St. Lawrence Seaway. And the reason that matters is because the St. Lawrence Seaway is the access pathway into and out of the Great Lakes as well as most of Eastern Canada. So Montreal, Quebec, Sept-Îles, all of these ports that are on the St. Lawrence that move massive quantities of stuff, including huge amounts of aggregate, things like iron ore, things that we utilize as part of our built world all the time that originate in central Canada or the Midwest, come through that very complicated seaway through there and pass right through a critical area for northern right whale. And there's not just northern right whale there, there's beluga, I think there's narwhal, there's definitely humpbacks, spay whales, fins, I mean, a whole slew of whales call that home. So again, this is and folks, because there are significant First Nations across all of the coast of Canada that are, oh my gosh, I mean, when you talk about, so at this conference I was at last week, very quickly, what was fascinating was the prime conversational piece when it comes to environment for most Canadian ports is not air quality. It's underwater noise and marine mammal deconfliction. From Vancouver to the Arctic to Sept-Îles, which is on the eastern, or St. John's or Halifax, because the acknowledgement of the primacy of First Nations and their relationship historically since the beginning of time to marine mammals is urgently in need of addressing. And so that means that those Canadian ports are having these exact conversations we're having today and thinking about these same issues. And we can learn from them, and we can also share what we figure out with them. So a quick interlude. Let's keep going through our panel, and we can pass the mic to the controller, to Holly.
Well, I was going to make a slide with air quality stats, but Sean, you have a slide later on with those statistics, but I'll steal your thunder a little bit and just talk about it. So we're pretty lucky in Ventura County in that our air quality is pretty good compared to, you know, LA County and Orange County, but we still are in non-attainment for state and federal ozone levels, as well as state PM 2.5 levels, which is that, you know, black dust that Giles was talking about earlier. So having a program like this that, you know, results in ships slowing down, reduced fuel usage, reduced air emissions from slowing down, it's really important, you know, especially like I mentioned, we've got our disadvantaged communities right off the coast. In 2023 alone, the Blue Whales, Blue Skies program resulted in about 45,785 metric tons of GHG reduction, as well as 1,256 tons of NOx reduction, which is a precursor to ozone, which is something we are in non-attainment for. And throughout the lifetime of the Blue Whales, Blue Skies program, we've had a reduction in 154,716 metric tons of GHG reduction, as well as 4,498 tons of NOx emissions. So those are huge reductions just from a single program. And the fact that this is from a mobile source, which is, from a local standpoint, pretty much impossible to regulate. You know, we can't tell people what cars to drive. We can't control planes. We can't control trains, planes, automobiles. So having this voluntary program is resulting in reductions this huge is amazing. And I wanted to just, on behalf of the Air District, give my thanks to the shipping companies that participate, because it's, you know, cleaning up our ocean and cleaning up our communities.
Holly, you used a phrase I'd love to unpack a little bit. You said the word attainment.
Yeah.
What is that? Can you explain to the audience what that means?
Yeah, so there's, you know, the criteria pollutants, which, you know, is like CO, NOx, particulate matter 2.5 and 10. So the federal government, the EPA, as well as the California Air Resource Board, they create regulations and standards, thresholds for those air pollutants. And as the Air District, it's our job to make sure that we are meeting those standards. And when you don't meet those standards, you are considered non-attainment. And so our goal is to get in attainment.
Okay, so that goes back to like the Clean Air Act then?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so that, when we think about that, right, remember, well, many of you are probably too young, but we had a president, Richard Nixon, back in the day, who was president during a major event that happened on the Central Coast, and that was the Santa Barbara oil spill in 1969. And that spill was the sort of lighting of the fire, if you will, for a much larger national conversation around environment. And what the federal government did, you know, you got to remember, Vietnam War was going on at this time, a social upheaval, a really crazy time in our nation's history. But the Clean Air Act and the Clean Water Act were passed at that time. And the reason I bring this up is because California was the impetus in that space. And that willingness to step forward into the breach, so to speak, and take on environmental challenges is something California has been doing for decades. And that sets the stage for not only sort of the connection of the port, but kind of the broader desire of California to address historical wrongs when it comes to pollution, but also push the envelope. And that drives, like the conversation we had this morning, decarbonization. Part of the reason we're doing this is because we have to. Obviously, we need to, but we also have to because regulatorily, there are rules from the California Air Resources Board that require it. And if you go to the rest of the world, those rules don't exist. The rest of the country, those rules don't exist. And so what that translates into is us, California, being at the pointy end of the spear on a lot of these things. So that's another reason why we are uniquely fortunate to, I mean, obviously we live in this amazing place we just talked about, but we also have to take care of it. And part of taking care of it is managing compliance with all these rules. And that is a big part of my job And it is a big part of the planning and the conversations around how we do this. And I'm looking right now, if everyone will just turn your attention out the window over there, in the background, do you see all that steam coming out of something in the distance there? Ooh. Exactly. That is the Ormond Beach Generating Station. So this is a little bit of an aside, but this is very relevant to the conversation. The reason that is turned on right now, that plant is not always operating. That plant is on right now specifically because the state, because it's hot inland, is pulling so much power off the grid right now, and it is, what, 2:30 in the afternoon. So that means we are beginning to lose renewable power as a state. Every single day, the amount of renewable power California has ramps up like a very steep curve. It maxes out and flatlines at about noon, and then about 2:30 to about 3:30, it suddenly begins to drop off as precipitously. And we use that renewable energy in the middle of the day, but when we don't have enough, that happens. Ormond kicks on. Ormond burns natural gas, a fossil fuel. It produces a variety of environmental pollutants that are not just bad for the environment, but are bad for the community. The transition away from that is a question that the state is trying to unpack that's really urgent because, as we alluded to earlier, we have to decarbonize our grid. The plugs that are going to do all that decarbonization work that we talked about, it's still 36% natural gas. That is our reality. This is why, and we're not going to touch on it today, but this is why conversations about offshore floating wind are essential to talking about our state's ability to adapt to climate change. Because we have a massive, glaring natural gas addiction in the state of California that is that right there. And that is just our reality. How do we turn that off and move away from it and take that down and restore that wetland? That's part of a much broader state conversation, but it's essential to understanding this whole ecosystem of energy use driven by consumption and adaptation. So with that, I think everybody has gone through our pieces. How are we doing for time? We're actually doing okay. I wanted to very quickly pivot toward the audience, and we have this nifty gizmo that is our magic question cube. So Adam, can you come up and be the keeper of the cube? And we want to open the conversation to the audience for questions to our illustrious panel of experts here. And please pick their brains, take advantage, and let's see what you got.
You got I don't. Okay, well, thank you.
Talking to the top.
Oh, I talk into here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. This is fun. And I can take this with me? Souvenir? Okay. So anyway, well, thank you so much to the Port of Hueneme for the invitation. I work in an aerospace company, small aerospace company down the road here, Raycar Incorporated. So sometimes we don't attend events that are not aerospace related because we're like, I don't do that, so why would I go, right? But it's really important for us actually to come to events that, specifically when we don't have anything to do with it, right? To go and to become more educated about it. So very happy to be here. My concern about the environment is really the way it's represented in the media, right? The way it's sensationalized. And we all kind of get this feeling that everything's getting worse, when in reality, we're polluting a lot less per capita than we ever have in the history of the world, right? But we need to continue down that road of reducing our per capita consumption, right? And a lot of that has to do with economic development. If you look at Hans Rosling and his book, Factfulness, which I recommend everybody that is concerned about the environment look at, where he kind of breaks down the statistics about pollution and everything. But something that I find really interesting about the ocean, and I just researched it really quick right now, I didn't know this, but I wanted to say something about it. So 60%, the ocean retains 60 times more carbon than the atmosphere does. So we see it as water, and we don't know actually how vital and important it is. It absorbs 30% of man-made carbon. 70% of the oxygen produced in the world is produced by marine plants, more than the rainforests. Right? Isn't that interesting? And then, so there's an example of a small photosynthetic bacteria called, I'm not going to pronounce it. It's a bacteria name. Produces up to 20% of the oxygen in the biosphere, which is more than all of the tropical rainforest combined. So I mention it only because, you know, I think part of, in my industry, what I'm trying to do is trying to reach out to people that are not in the industry, because that's where our innovation is going to come from, right? Because we're going to see things a little bit differently. We're not trained to look at it in the same way. So we're going to use our imagination to think about it differently. So I just wanted to point out the ocean, how important it is. And one of my favorite artists wrote a song about how we all come from the ocean, and that's why our tears are salty. So it's just poetic and just a really wonderful thing. So I'm happy to be here, and happy that all of this is happening.
All right, Adam, let's keep the cube moving.
Can I just add something real quick? Because I just love that about phytoplankton and the gift from the ocean sustaining us and every other breath we take. So, and also the whales are these ecosystem engineers. So the whales are these incredible pumps of nutrients. So they're feeding down at depth, feeding carbon-based, nutrient-rich food, pooping at the surface. And if you're my class of fourth graders, they love to see some of the footage we get from the boats of whales pooping at the surface. And right now it's really red because of the krill, and it really smells good downwind. But that is iron-packed, phosphate-packed, and nitrates that are feeding the phytoplankton. And to think we brought all these whales to the brink of extinction, we were missing that critical component of this incredible productivity of the ocean. So they are these ecosystem engineers. They are the farmers of our ocean. So that's why the conservation is so important, to bring them back up to pre-whaling numbers. And we have done for some species, but some are still needing a lot of help when it comes to the environmental regulations and conservation initiatives. So thank you for mentioning the importance of the ocean and giving us the oxygen that sustains us all.
Excellent. More questions? Anyone in the audience need the cube?
Wow. Giles, LA Long Beach does not have anything like this, nor Oakland. So kudos to Port of Hueneme. Yes. So Jacqueline Moore, I'm from PMSA. We're a trade association. We represent the vessel carriers, and I'm so glad to see so many members here in the audience today. And also wanted to commend the participation rates that raise every single year. So kudos to them. But I also wanted to point out that our rates are higher than the East Coast mandatory program. So I think that's a great story to tell here, that this is voluntary, and we have better numbers than the East Coast. So I think that's a great comment about how effective and successful that a program like this could be. But I wanted to make a comment about, we want to make sure the program continues to grow, numbers continue to grow. But in response to the offshore wind development, which, Giles, I love that you fit that in, we are likely going to be moving shipping lanes, perhaps further offshore because of where the wind farms will be located. And of course, that will come with its own impacts, being negative or otherwise perhaps beneficial, but that hasn't been studied yet. And we'd love to be able to see that in a holistic view. We don't want unintended impacts. We don't want further risks to whales. There's also air quality implications that come off with longer transits and so forth. So, Sean, I know we've worked together a number of years through NOAA, PMSA in general has as well. So I would love if we could do a sort of holistic view or analysis of future shipping lane alterations and what that means with air quality and wells, because we want to make sure those continue to grow and the program continues to be successful. So thank you all on the panel, and it's been great working with you over the years on this.
Well, thank you. Sean, do you want to comment on that at all, that history?
So I was just curious, do you have a magic answer box?
Maybe, but it's over at the port.
Yes. Thank you for the comment, Jacqueline. Good to see you. The U.S. Coast Guard just finished, well, a year ago, a port access route study, which is looking at the very issues that PMSA is raising. And the Coast Guard wanted to get in front of offshore energy development, offshore aquaculture, another major industrial use of the ocean that's being promoted. And so the reason to get out in front of it was so that we maintain the vibrant commerce that we're so dependent on, and try and fit whales, wind, aquaculture, and shipping in our ocean space. And so the Coast Guard completed the study. I will say they were incredibly receptive to NOAA and our input on many of the issues that you're raising, Jacqueline. The location of sanctuaries, where existing lanes are, where we have whale data. It's unclear to me what the next step is at the Coast Guard level. It goes from a port access route study, which is complete. It actually has an offshore fairway, which is what they're proposing, roughly 50 miles off the coast, connecting Baja to Canada. And where the ships need to come into the port, they have gates, so to speak, entrances to direct the traffic. This is something that we will be watching closely and commenting on, and a similar port access route study was completed on the East Coast as well, enveloping all the issues that we're sharing today. So keep your eyes and ears attuned to the port access route study by the Coast Guard. We hope that they will soon move that into implementation, and in doing so, it will require environmental review on a lot of the issues, the costs, the impacts, the benefits, and require a lot of public input.
Excellent. Well, I just want to make one more clarification on offshore floating wind. The reason ports are looking at offshore floating wind, and the reason this is a critical part of the conversation is what we were just talking about with Ormond. Ports are not in the business of wanting to move offshore floating wind forward for the sake of having more business or more revenue or something. The reason offshore floating wind has to be understood and has to be analyzed is because of that natural gas addiction problem. As I alluded to, 36% of our grid is natural gas powered. That has been the same, has not changed since 2016. We've added a lot of clean power, but we've taken away a lot of even dirtier power sources like coal, right? That has netted us out essentially flat. That would be okay if there was no forecasted change in electricity demand in the state. But unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, as we talked about this morning, aggregated electricity demand in the state of California is forecasted to quadruple. Where do we get that 36% plus from? Is it nuclear? Are we going to have that conversation? Is it not gas? This is why. This is cold, hard numbers from the state of California. This is no one's spin on this. This is accounting. This is black and white facts of where our power comes from. We as a state have to figure this out, not only to hit a goal, but to address a legacy of environmental justice that has burdened communities like Oxnard with gas-fired peaker plants. There's 3 of them in Ventura County. No other community has as many as we have here. And why is that? Well, environmental racism is a concept we could unpack for hours here. But it is a reality, and our landscape is a direct reflection of that very intentional legacy. So addressing that discrepancy is why offshore floating wind has to be talked about. So anyway, with that, I think we need to move on with our conversation toward protecting blue whales, blue skies. Sean, I would love if you would kick us off by, can you give an overview, an elevator pitch for what it is and why? You know, is it a ship does it once and they get a certificate? Is it a, how does it work? Just give us 101 of this whole thing.
Happy to. Let's see. Here we go. Perfect. We're going to transition with from an overview of the program into recognizing the shipping lines here today that make the program work. And what this is, it's a partnership. It's a partnership between government and industry and the nonprofit sector. And it's a rather unconventional coalition, if you think about it. National Marine Sanctuaries working with air pollution control districts, working with the California Marine Sanctuary Foundation, and philanthropic organizations saying there's a different way to reduce fatal ship strikes, air pollution, ocean noise. And I think, are we on to a whole new slideshow? Oh, look at that. I went too far. Okay. Here you see logo soup, quite a few organizations here. My point of this slide is to illustrate all the parties involved in making this program work. And as I noted, National Marine Sanctuaries are supporting foundations of California Marine Sanctuary Foundation, represented here by Robert Mazurek, and our Air Pollution Control District friends. It started with a phone call in 2014. It started with frustration that the industry was not slowing down with the voluntary ask by NOAA, Coast Guard, and EPA. We had rather low cooperation. And the alternative that was pitched was, well, you regulate. And that was something that was actually not going to be, it was frustrating because you can use a hammer or you can use a carrot. We were asking and we decided, let's try the carrot. I picked up the phone, I called Santa Barbara APCD. And it's...
Who are here, by the way, we have some representation from
Alex is here in the back.
They're at
Thank
the back,
you, Alex,
so
for being
everybody
here.
wave to Santa Barbara APCD.
Yep.
They are very similar to VC APCD. They're just next door.
Right, and I think what you see here is an alliance of air districts and sanctuaries that work at a local level on local problems. What I hope you take away from the rest of the day is what we do here, the fact is internationally recognized, it's nationally recognized, and we've created programs that work and function in our waters. It's time to export them. These whales have tails, these big ships have big props, and wherever whales and ships and coastal communities exist, there's an opportunity to have vibrant commerce and conservation. That's the Blue Whales, Blue Skies model. We can jump into the details here. These statistics speak for themselves. These are the facts. These companies you see here, these are the largest shipping lines in the world, voluntarily signing up, enrolling themselves, and committing to slowing down to 10 knots May through December in Southern California and off San Francisco. You see the highlights that we've covered. Holly and I have shared some of the statistics with you. Overall cooperation rate of 81%, meaning of all the miles traveled by all those ships, they slowed down 81% of the time at 10 knots. That is a lot of slow miles. That's a lot less fuel being burned. That's the air quality benefit right there. Slower ships are safer ships for whales, and slower ships, as has been mentioned, are quieter. And you can see as we're able to measure not just the distance they travel, but the benefits associated with that. A 58% reduction in the risk of a fatal ship strike on endangered animals. There's only two things on the planet that can knock off the largest animal ever. One is a ship, and the other is entanglement. And we're working on both. This program is showing a way to do it voluntarily. As Jacqueline mentioned, 81% cooperation exceeds some of the compliance with the NOAA regulation on the East Coast. We're proud of that. I'm still looking at the 19% that we still need to slow down to get there, but this is something to celebrate. That's why we're here today, to celebrate that. The air pollution reduction that Holly mentioned in the metrics here. When I hear these numbers, I'm a whale guy, and Holly describes the size of a blue whale, and I look to the other Holly, and these numbers are meaningful. They make a difference in the air we breathe. And so we're really, really proud of not just the achievements of the program, but look to the 33 companies here that have enrolled and are slowing down. Now, we set up a recognition system where if you slow down at least 60% of your entire fleet's distance, not just one ship, you're recognized in the gold tier. And if you slow down 85% of the distance of your entire fleet, you're recognized at our highest level at the Sapphire Award level. These are this is challenging. These ships travel hundreds of thousands of miles, and we are asking them to adjust schedules, and they've shown that they can do it. So really, really proud of that. That's the program. Here, this is the last slide, an overview of the program. As I mentioned, started in 2014. I was hoping one company with one ship would slow down on the channel, just to demonstrate. Sure, we're willing to do it. And we had 7 companies sign up. We had 27 individual ships slow down that year. Go to the green column, far right. We have added not just container ships, car carriers, bulkers, and fuel carriers now. The vessel speed reduction zones have expanded to include all of the national marine sanctuaries. We had 33 companies, over 700 ships traveling over 370,000 miles at 10 knots or less. And you can see the environmental benefits that accrue with that. That's worth celebrating. That's what's impressive. That's what we want to share with all of you today. Recognize the companies that have come here, and again, consider exporting this model. Our friends on the East Coast, they believe they can up the compliance with adding the Blue Whales, Blue Skies model, which is celebrating companies that do well. We don't shame. We focus on those that set examples that slowing down is possible. Our friends to the northwest, a busy port, they have a lot of whales up there. They have a lot of issues with the southern resident killer whales and the impact of ocean noise. So we've been talking to the Port of Vancouver. They have the ECHO program, which is slowing ships down in critical areas. And we're working together. We're talking tomorrow to the East Coast, our East Coast friends in Canada. Yeah. So these are some things to look forward to in the expansion of Blue Whales, Blue Skies as a model. But today, let's celebrate, as we move into the award ceremony, what we achieved last year. And 2024 is our 10th year, and we have even higher expectations.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate setting the table like that for what we're doing. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring some of our leadership up on stage. I'd love some of the participants if they want to stay here as well. But what we're going to do is call the individual carriers up by award, and then I think we'll probably do photo op outside, depending if we're short on time. We can play it by ear.
You know, Giles, I just realized as I went to the next slide, we mentioned the voluntary nature of this program. The incentive is not only the companies wanting to do the right thing. I mentioned the recognition, and I'd be remiss not to highlight the positive public relations campaign associated with Blue Whales, Blue Skies. Again, these numbers are meaningful in a media sense. This is free press. This is what we offer back to the companies that perform at the highest level. We reach out to the trade journals that matter to all of you. And as I shared with my new evergreen friend, John, if there are areas and markets that you want additional recognition that we're not aware of, let us know. We want to make sure the industry globally is aware of what's being done here by celebrating your achievements. And you can see from print to television to radio, we had many media people here today. The story is one of hope. One of the questions or comments in the audience was, a lot of the media is so negative. This is a good story. This is a story of hope. This is the Scarlet story.
Absolutely.
For ships.
Absolutely. And I think it's important just to point out there is a very good website for the Protecting Blue Whales, Blue Skies program. Amber is here from the program as well. If you have questions on that, if you want to learn more about the program. Additionally, there are brand ambassadors associated with the program. And if anybody here works for a port who happens to be the only California port who is a brand ambassador, raise your hand. Oh, wait, that's me.
Yeah, Giles.
And some other folks here. We are trying to encourage other ports to play in this space as well, because we see this as a very important role in being sort of that convening authority for the variety of folks we have at the table, and we have here around us, you know, celebrating this achievement today. So there they are. Those are the actual corporate ambassadors. Some of those brands you may very know, and you'll notice the little port logo up there, not little, but the port logo up there too. So yeah, that's
Giles, and that's a direction that we're investing in. We have the shipping industry engaged. we want to engage your customers. They need to know what you're doing. They need to know and share in the environmental benefits. They're already shipping with you and deserve the recognition, and in turn, you deserve their recognition for being that company that is leading the way. And so we have engaged a few companies that have, once explained to them, they said, this is a no-brainer. Why wouldn't we sign up? The port is leading the way. This whole event today is because the port, as an ambassador, is saying, we're going to help you celebrate. And that is, we couldn't ask anything more of an ambassador. I realized something happened this morning that we're real excited about. I believe this is a big deal to the port. So our aha moment is our newest, largest corporate ambassador is Limonera.
Oh, excellent.
They signed up today. They use the Port of Hueneme. Very excited about this. They recognize the program as something where they have a corporate sustainability ethos, and how they ship and who they ship with matters to them. And when they look down the list of all the the companies receiving awards today, they're saying, wait, we ship with them. And now they want to celebrate you, the shipping industry, the port, for being a part of it. And so we now have another corporate logo to add there, and more to come.
And that's a local company, so kudos to Limonera for doing that. So what we're going to do, we have 2 sets of awards. So Hueneme, as the brand ambassador, whose logo you see there, is recognizing those Hueneme-specific carriers who participate in the program, because not every shipping line who does participate in the program comes to Hueneme. So we're doing that, and then we will hand the microphone, and we will do the broader, everybody, the big umbrella. One more little nuance before we do that. We are in the process of developing basically like a financial statement for air quality. It's called an emissions inventory, and it is an accounting of all the pollution that we generate, and it's based on a previous year. You're counting, just adding it all up. In that next emissions inventory, we are going to incorporate for the very first time an accounting for the emissions reductions that come offshore from Hueneme-specific participants in Blue Whales, Blue Skies. That has never been done before. They have the numbers. Starcrest and the Air District have the numbers. We have never gathered those numbers and advertised to say, these numbers matter, because these are direct reductions. And what Holly mentioned, ozone is nasty business. It is like a slightly inebriated sailor looking for a fight in a bar. It is really, really out there to mess stuff up because of its chemical structure, and it's really bad for lungs. So the reason ozone matters is because NOx, right? Nitrous oxides, Holly mentioned that too. Nitrous oxides go way up into the atmosphere, and sunlight turns it into ozone. It's chemistry, atmospheric chemistry. But then that ozone comes down and it looks for a fight, and it fights our lungs, and it fights kids' lungs, and everybody who's sensitive, asthmatics, the elderly, you name it, ozone is bad. So that's a big driving force. I just wanted to make that linkage with ozone and NOx. But why don't we just dive right into it and get some folks up here on the stage and give them an applauding opportunity. Thank you all. I think we'll do our customers first. Yes, exactly. All right. Sean, you can come on up here too for these because you're part of the program, and Amber as well. Okay, we are going to start with the Sapphire Award. So let me go back very quickly. Oops. Sean had the slide up. I don't know, we're having a hang up at the back. Oh, whoops. I went too quickly, I went too far. Can you just go forward one to the one? Yeah, you guys had it right and I messed it up. All right, well, while we're working on that, why don't we just jump right into this? Let me give a microphone to Kristen. Actually, Kristen, do you want to say a few words about what we're doing and what we've just talked about as we dive into the awards?
So what we're doing is we want to give the shout out to our customers that have been amazing participants in this really important program that you've all heard about over the last hour or so. And we're just super proud of our customers for their stewardship and really doing their part to care about our air and care about our marine life here in Ventura County. As I understand too, one of the biggest issues that we face and challenges in Ventura County is actually the emissions of the even larger ships, right, moving up the coast. Not so much, and the fact that we're recognizing those corporate sponsors as well for participating in the program, I think is also equally important because it just directly affects our air here in Ventura County. So we're here today to congratulate our customers for a job well done.
Excellent. So we're going to start off with the Gold Award. And our first one, I unfortunately don't have the names of the individual attendees from the carriers here. But if your carrier is called out, then can the representative please come up and accept your award? So the first one is for the Gold Award that goes to K-Line. Oh, Tyler's here. And we'd love to welcome to the stage Tyler Harris from VCA PCD, who's another one of the longtime participants and leaders in the Blue Whales, Blue Skies, and the vessel program. If we can, here, I'll move this way a little bit. Maybe we slide down by a few inches and we can get everybody in. All right. K-Line is here. All right, thank you very much. Kristen, do you want to do that? I can hand you them, or what do you want to do? Okay, all right. Next up, Maersk, one of the biggest global shipping lines. Maersk gets a Gold Award this year as well. So Maersk for us moves a significant amount of bananas. They are a refrigerated container customer of ours that bring in a weekly liner service and have done for a number of years and are one of our core customers. Well, all of these are our core customers because they all contribute to the broader impact. All right, next up we have Hyundai Glovis. This is a RoRo customer, so that's roll-on, roll-off. This is, again, one of our foundational automobile customers. And carriers don't go anywhere after all the awards have been handed out. We'd like to get everybody outside for a photo of all the carriers with PMSA. So we can probably more effectively do that outside than manage to squeeze everybody in on the little thing here. Next up is a Sapphire Award. So this is the next tier up as far as compliance numbers, or excuse me, not compliance, participation numbers. And this goes to Wallenius Wilhelmsen. And Wallenius, of course, is one of our foundational long-term customers of the port in the RoRo segment, moving automobiles as well.
You're in the middle of the blue ocean
here. All right, fantastic. Thank you, Wallenius. All right, and then last but certainly not least, another RoRo customer of ours, the NYK Lines, if they can. All right, so let's give a big hand to all those Hueneme participants. So we're going to hand the microphone over. Sean is now going to do the next round of awards.
Yep. And thank you all for your patience. Again, we're here to celebrate. I'm going to try and do this efficiently. So as I mentioned, the gold tier are for those companies that slow down at least 60% of their fleet over the vessel speed reduction zones from May to December. So maybe to make this efficient, I think we have 4 companies representing the gold tier today. Maybe you can all come up at once. Maersk, Evergreen, K-Line, and Hyundai Glovis. Come on up. You're going to need... Evergreen, thank you. Thank you so much. These are our gold tier awardees. Thank you so much. Thank you to your companies. Make sure your captains and crews know how much we appreciate them. So we're going to move on to our top category now, and we're going to start with, and I'm going to give you a little bit of detail here. NYK Ro-Ro auto carrier, as mentioned, 66 different vessels traveled through the vessel speed reduction zones in 2023. Total of over 26,000 miles, slow speed, whale safe, whale friendly miles for an 86% cooperation rate. So if we could have NYK Ro-Ro please come back up. Okay, next up is Wallenius, another auto carrier with 32 vessels that travel through the vessel speed reduction zone for a total of 7,000 miles and a 93% cooperation rate. That is just phenomenal. Huh? Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Be very gentle, this one. This one's a little delicate. Yes. Thank you so much. Okay, next up, Hapag-Lloyd. I believe Sean Andrews here, and a container line, 6 different vessels that pass through the vessel speed reduction zone for over 4,000 miles at the 10 knots or less, an 87% cooperation rate. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, and we have CSL Americas, Davin Chan, I believe I saw you here today. Please come on up. A bulk carrier. Bulkers are new addition, shipping lines to the vessel speed reduction effort. Thank you for signing up last year. Over 10,000 miles and a 94% cooperation rate. It's just tremendous. Awesome, great. And, okay, top award, top dog, 96% cooperation rate, 46,000 whale-safe miles, 53 different vessels, a container line that we all know well, CMA CGM. Please come on up, John. Yeah. Fantastic. Great, thanks so much. Okay, we have, who's next? Anyone else here in the audience that we have not acknowledged? RSVPs were coming in fast and furious. Did we recognize everyone? If companies are online watching the award ceremony, we will be mailing you your awards. Thank you very much. And I think we've covered everyone. Yes? NYK? Do we have? Huh? Yeah. Okay. Is it now go outside time and do a big group? No, we're going to do, we've got some friends of the Port of Wait. Okay, great. Can you hand me the silver one? You just reminded me. one of our greatest ambassadors in the Blue Whales, Blue Skies program, the Port of Hueneme. Thank you so much. Yes. Okay, friends of the port.
So I'm going to call Adam Vega up, who's done a wonderful job today. Can we give Adam a round of applause here for all his hard work? So something else that we want to recognize today is our wonderful community partners that work with us to be stewards of our oceans and that have just been tremendous friends to the port. And so I'm going to turn the mic over to Adam, who's going to say a few remarks about each of our friends of the port today. That's wonderful work for our oceans and for our community.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, everyone, for being here with us today. A lot of what we do wouldn't be possible without the community partners that are in the community, helping folks understand a little bit better what it is that we do here in the port, helping folks come in and be able to see what a working waterfront looks like and one that's doing it in a sustainable manner, intentionally with community. So these folks, again, I hold them very near and dear to my heart. I thank them for making time in their busy schedules. I'm also going to give them an opportunity to share a little bit about what they do because I know they can articulate much more eloquently and better than I can. So first, I'd like to welcome up Kevin Brannon, the Executive Director of Real Guppy Outdoors. Kevin has been a longtime friend and partner of the port, and we wanted to be able to recognize him at our World Oceans Day this year. I'm going to pass it to Kevin. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. How you guys doing? Sorry, I was a little bit late. It was Tuesday's normally my only day off, so I usually spend that time with my spouse, my wife. But anyway, I'm honored. I'm a Port City kid. Let me go to the gum. I'm a fourth-generation Port Hueneme kid. I started my TV fishing show to educate people about what we do have in our backyard. That started a nonprofit 7 years ago. But I started working on the port at Port Hueneme sport fishing when I was about 11 years old. I'd sneak onto the dock and they'd kick me off over and over again. And finally, they gave me a job as a pinhead. I love being on the water. I turned that into a dream. So through our program, what we do is really encourage those to follow their dreams, follow their passions. If you might struggle maybe academically like I did, but I'm still an educator, so I like to kind of preach problem solving through fishing and our local environment. We live in the Channel Islands National Park, one of the coolest places on the planet, and I just really feel it's my responsibility to take care of my community and also teach those around us about their community and how they can make an impact in their environment. We all have an environmental awareness in what we do, but if we thrive in our environment, I think that's where we can make the biggest impact. And the port has been a super big partner in that over the last 5 years. But again, I'm a Port City kid, so I just think I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, and with help from community partners like the port, one of my favorites, just living the dream. Awesome. So thank you guys so much for your support. I'm here, and it is a partnership. It's not just a check and saying, here you go, Kev, take those kids fishing. We do a lot of stuff together, logistic stuff. The kids get to take tours of the facility, so it is really a true partnership, and it's one of my favorites that I have. Thank you.
There we go. Let's give it up for Kevin Brannon. Thank you. And Kevin touched on something really, really important, right? A lot of us live next to nature. Sometimes we think we're removed or detached from it. So the next group that I'd like to recognize is someone that's helped all ages of folks become a little bit more familiar with their ecological address. So I'd like to invite Rocio Lozano Knowlton, the Executive Director of the Merito Foundation. I'm going to pass this mic to Rocio and let her share a few words about the work that her and Jose do all across Ventura County.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Lovely evening and program. And wow, quite a step, like getting bigger and bigger every year. I'm the founder, executive director of the Merito Foundation, which stands for Multicultural Education for Resource Issues Threatening Ocean. Our mission is to protect the ocean. We're based in Ventura. We work from Santa Maria to Simi Valley and Kern County now. We bring transformative experiences to youth and build capacity on educators so they can integrate ocean, climate, environmental literacy, citizen science, advocacy, and green entrepreneurship, which we tie in with the port. We've worked with the port multiple years. We have support from them. Thank you so much. You enhance what we do, and I hope we do the same. We do it in a variety of ways, working with you. I wanted to say today that we applied for a grant for a new project. It's called Vamos a la Playa. We have multiple programs. We have about 3,500 kids per school year throughout the region and about 200 educators. And we have a project called Vamos a la Playa starting like tomorrow. We're starting to advertise it tomorrow, so I wanted to say, oh, great, I get to tell you today. We got a grant from Whale Tail Grant in collaboration. Thank you. So we'll be doing, focusing on getting children from Title I schools from Port of Hueneme and Oxnard to go to the beach and do citizen science. From Plankton Watch with Southern California Plankton Watch, we'll do Sandy Beach Rocky intertidal monitoring with the sanctuary. Sea profiles, and all a variety of things, and then involves some outdoor recreation as well. So over the years, we've been doing this as a nonprofit for 10 years, but we started as, we're an offshoot from sanctuaries since 20 years ago. So Sean and I go way back. So thank you. Thank you for your support and for everything you do for the community. And you inspire a lot of young, and thank you, all of you, for what you're doing to protect the ocean and the wildlife.
And Rocio touched on something really, really important that we heard throughout the day from Josh, right, and some of the panelists up here. The next generation, the youth, and I think a local organization that represents the youth well, folks as young as 3 to the millennials and the zillennials and beyond, getting them out to our beaches, having them understand the importance of keeping a clean environment, right? Because it's going to be here for many generations to come, or so we hope, right? We don't inherit it from the previous generation, we're actually borrowing it from the future generations. And I think that someone that really keeps that front and center in their mission, their vision, and in their work is the Coastal Keepers. So I'd like to invite Rafael Ochoa, the Vice President of Coastal Keepers. And with that, the mic is yours, sir.
Sure. I asked Adam if I should present a speech. He's like, just your pretty face. And here I am talking. Since day one, I think the port has supported us. One thing is inclusivity and feeling involved with the community, feeling like you're part of a change. And how Adam said it, we want to leave the land better than we found it. So it all started with just one beach cleanup, and it became one bigger thing. And I'm just fascinated with the support we've had with various groups, various sponsors, various networks and all that. So I'll leave it at that, and let's just keep going, fight the good fight. And this is amazing. I'm sorry to show up late. I'm an educator. I just got out of school. It's the last week, so it's field day, and I might be sunburned, but thank you all for listening. Appreciate it.
And again, thank you to all of the friends of the port that we recognized here today, as well as those in the audience and soon to be friends of the port. As we always say, the the doors and the gates are always open, and I think you've met a really good group of people here that can help you gain access inside to learn and see a little bit more about what we do. And before we conclude the program and close us out, I'd like to invite Doug Riffenberg to say a few words.
Thank you, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Doug Riffenberg, and I'm the executive director here at the Maritime Museum, and I just want to extend our gratitude to each and every one of you for being here. And what was an informational, inspirational day here at the Maritime Museum. We're very proud to support this great event, but I want to say more importantly, we're proud that we can support the collective efforts of everyone working so hard to make this planet a better place, and not only for ourselves, but for our air, our oceans, and also the wildlife that lives in them. So here at the Maritime Museum, we are in the process of reimagining our vision, and one aspect of that is that we aspire to be a recognized center in our community for the exchange of maritime, historical, environmental information, ideas, and research. And so today was a perfect example of one of the ways that we're resolving to serve our community. So I would like to give a special thanks to the Port of Hueneme. The port they're a major supporter of the museum. We're very proud to be a partner with an organization that is setting the standard for ports all over the world. This is particularly true with all the green initiatives that we've seen today, but also in the support of the local community. And our plan is to deepen our partnership and find ways that we can work together to support and strengthen our community. So finally, I've talked to a few of you today, and it seems some of you haven't been to the museum. So just to wrap up, I'd say please stop by the museum sometime. We really do have an exquisite collection of maritime historical artifacts here, and what we call the seventh wonder of our community. If you don't have plans for Father's Day, this Sunday, from 10 to 3, we're going to be hosting a free event with a car show, some live music, fun activities for the kids and families. I would suggest going whale watching on Saturday, and then come to the museum on Sunday. And I would just make an invitation to everybody out there that if you do come to the museum, feel free to give me a call. I'd love to set you up with one of our docents. We have amazing docents here, and they do a really great job of taking you through the museum. So I'd like to wish you all a great afternoon, and that wraps up our event. Thank you very much.
Hey, just for those that got awards, don't run away. We do want to get a shot of you outside on the patio in front of the screen with the port's logo on it. So make sure you get down there. Thank you.